Okay, here you go. I just looked. You can purchase BMW key rings and BMW hats and BMW coffee cups, but not an umbrella.
Interesting.
You gotta have a car.
So you can kind of be a poser.
I mean, I'm just looking on Amazon real quick.
Yeah. Hey everyone, this is Gina Tremarco.
And Rachel Tipton.
And we are
Women Your Mother Warned You About. The podcast that makes sales sexy again.
So buckle up for our next real, raw, relevant, and irreverent episode. So, hey Rachel.
Hey Gina, how are you?
I am awesome. Another thing I've been thinking about is... I'm always thinking that's a scary thing, right? Fairy hair. I've been wanting to talk about fairy hair.
Did you
see my fairy hair? I can't remember.
Yes, but maybe our listeners would like to know what that is.
So fairy hair came to mind because when I broke my wrist and I was in a splint and P.S. impossible to wash your hair or any other part of your body when you're in a splint. And if they're a volunteer, there's a guy out there going, I'll give you a shower. I'll wash you. Next time I, sign up now, next time I break a wrist.
Be careful what you say.
So I posted on Facebook, as I always do, looking for recommendations. And someone said, hey, go to one of those places like a Supercuts to get your hair cut because they'll wash your hair.
Right.
And so then I was thinking about, and then I've got, what do I want to call her? A protege. She used to be a performer at Caroline Improv. She's a performer of mine. And then she's a smart little cookie. She started this Pigtails and Crew Cut business, which is a haircut place for kids. I know there's a lot of them out there, but it's the only one in our area under that franchise. So she's like, she calls me Mama Bear. She's like, Mama Bear, come over here and get your hair washed. So I went to their place to get my hair washed, and that's where I learned about fairy hair. So they put this, metallic... Tinsel. That's the word I couldn't remember. They tie tinsel into your hair, and you can buy so many different strands, and they have all these different colors. So I didn't want to be cray-cray, because I do have to be, once in a while, professional. Although I knew I'd be down and out for a while, so it didn't really matter. But to perk me up, I was like, I'll take some fairy hair. So I got the gold fairy hair, had that tied into my hair, and the compliments that came for like the next week, like nobody noticed my splint anymore. It was amazing. It was like magic. I was able to distract people from the splint. Even like the baristas at Starbucks, one of the guys is like, oh, I love that. What is in your hair? I love that. So the fairy hair became such the conversation. And even before I went in for surgery, when I was in the hospital, I'm sitting there waiting to be rolled back. Every nurse and doctor that walked in, they came in like, in this serious manner. They're going to look at my arm. And like every time someone walked in, immediately went, I love your hair.
Your fairy hair.
Fairy hair. So that got me to thinking how important it is to like, what do you do that makes you stand out? What is your unique selling proposition? And then a while back, you and I talked about, I know this sounds like a crazy tangent, these two things we're going to put together, but umbrellas from BMW.
Oh, yeah. The umbrella is, well, a friend of mine, he just got a brand new BMW. And we were talking about it, and I was like, that's pretty cool that you got a brand new BMW. But what he was so jazzed up about was the umbrella that would be in the BMW. And I was just like, wait, what? Well, apparently with luxury cars, you get a umbrella, branded, of course. Apparently you can also, in some situations with luxury cars, you get to choose a different gift, like a Yeti or something like that. But this friend of mine, he was just so excited about the umbrella. And so I went on, when you and I talked about it.
Hey, you told me about this, and I'm like, Do you order that? Do you order it with the cart? Like, how does this work?
With it.
It comes with it.
Yeah. And I went back and asked him, I'm like, what's the deal? Why do you, what's so great about the umbrella? He's like, oh man, it's great. The umbrella, it's nice. It's like a good one. It's this and that. And then another friend of mine was with us and she goes, no, it's not about the umbrella. It's about how that umbrella makes you feel. And the reason is that the first time that he bought his first BMW, because this one was not his first. The first time he bought it, it was kind of his rite of passage into wealth and success. And he was really...
Does it say BMW on the umbrella? Mm-hmm. Obviously, I don't have a BMW.
Yeah. And he said that the fact that he got an umbrella it gave him this feeling of, I've arrived, this feeling of special and this nostalgic feeling, this attachment to the brand of like, they really love me. That's why they give me this cool gift, this nice gift, along with my, however many $1,000 investment that a brand new BMW is today. So it was more about the feeling. And my other friend, she's the one that pointed it out. She said, it's not about the umbrella. It's about how the umbrella makes you feel.
So it's the experiential tapping into the emotions and really knowing your buyer and how can you make them feel a certain way. They're smart.
Oh, yeah. Because you would never think it would be the umbrella. And when we were all standing around the office talking about this umbrella, I was like, well, I really don't know if I'd want an umbrella. I mean, you need an umbrella in a car, but I would rather have like a Yeti. And that's when my other friend, she said, oh yeah, when I got my BMW, I didn't want the umbrella. I wanted the Yeti. So I'd go back.
Oh, so that's a thing.
You go back in the luxury car place. And anybody who has a luxury car out there who knows this, then please forgive us because I don't have a luxury car yet.
I'm not sure if I want one, but anyway.
Really? You don't want the umbrella?
Oh, well, I mean the luxury car. I mean, I've gone back and forth. Like if I were, I would get a Mercedes, but I've had that opportunity, and then
maybe
I'm like,
Mercedes should be a sponsor.
Maybe. Yeah. Then I just changed my mind because I'm like, my practical kicks in. I'm like, oh, the car parts are more expensive if something breaks down.
Well, it's a prestige thing too.
Right.
I mean, I know that in real estate, there was a time when I had my fitness business, I drove a Fit. And I just thought it was the coolest thing because I'm the fit girl who drives the Fit. I remember.
Oh, cute.
And that story about the Fit is a really good story about visualizing what you want in life. That's probably a whole nother podcast. But anyway, when I shifted from my fitness business back into real estate as my primary business, I knew that, especially for the branding of the real estate company that I joined at that time, I wanted to have a little bit more of a prestigious car. And at that time I was not financially capable of purchasing a BMW. So I bought a Honda Accord, a black sedan that, if you squint your eyes a lot and you don't look at the logo, then it could pass for, it's just a little bit more. It spoke a little bit more of the branding I wanted to portray as a real estate agent.
You need that. It is about how are you. Nobody wants to buy from someone who's not good at what they do or doesn't offer something of high quality.
Yeah, and I mean, unfortunately, in the real estate
I
business,
really wouldn't want to be in a Fit if I were buying a house.
Well, exactly. And I mean, exactly.
No offense.
Right. You want to be able to ride people around in style, but also it's the perception, like you said, of is this person successful? If your real estate agent rolls up in a really nice car, your assumption is probably that they're doing really well. Now, if that's true or not is a whole nother ballgame, but it's just especially in the real estate business, your car is really an extension of yourself, and it's a big part of the perception of the client.
That makes sense. And for BMW to really think about the extension of the brand, like it's smart in so many different ways because you can continue to extend the brand because now someone's carrying around the umbrella with the logo on it. So it's extending the brand, right? But it's also continuing the prestige feeling for the consumer who's walking around with the BMW umbrella, right? Because, they have a BMW umbrella. They must have a BMW, right? So that gives them like kind of a
I'm
high.
pretty sure you can't buy a BMW umbrella in a store without a BMW attached to it, right?
Well, now I'm curious. Now I want to go look it up because I know BMW has like
merch.
They have merch. Yeah, they have at their plant in South Carolina, which, by the way, in April they do at their South Carolina Spartanburg location, they do a diversity vendor fair, which means they bring in all of the vendors, all the suppliers that they use. They bring them into a room together, and then they invite minority-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, to come to this fair to meet their vendors to try to get contracts with their suppliers. And they bring in amazing speakers. They throw this huge event. I went to it this past year, and I guess that would be last year. We're into a new year. Damon Johns from Shark Tank spoke. He was amazing. Like they're really great with their brand extension and doing it different ways, bringing all these people in. But part of their experience also with this conference, whatever you want to call it, it's coming up again in April. You should come with me because I'm going. I'm making it a whole day trip. I'm making it.
When is it?
It's like April 4th. And this podcast will air before then.
I leave for Paris the next day.
Oh, whatever. So anyway.
Okay, here you go. I just looked. You can purchase BMW key rings and BMW hats and BMW coffee cups, but not an umbrella.
Interesting.
You got to have a car.
So you can kind of be a poser.
I mean, I'm just looking on Amazon real quick.
Yeah. And a Yeti? What about Yetis?
No, this is $11, so that ain't no Yeti.
Okay.
Maybe Yeti should be a sponsor.
Can you tell we're looking for sponsors?
I will say that I have 2 Yetis, and I carry one around at all times. Like at all times.
Yeah. You need a different brand on that Yeti. Mm-hmm. But anyway. So that extension of BMW, they're smart because they're carrying the feeling forward while still marketing themselves and creating that experience, which reminds me of, I mean, now this is turning into like a podcast episode about luxury items. Right now, this is important. This is tapping into our emotions, and this is tapping into our childhood baggage stuff. For me, my thing, Louis Vuitton. Because as a kid, as a girl in high school, I went to an all-girls Catholic high school where half of the girls were named Gina and the other half of the girls were named Maria. Give you any idea of who went there?
Asian?
Yes, everybody was Asian. It would be funny when somebody would say, like, yell the name Gina, and everyone would, our 80s hair with hairspray would hurt each other, whipping our heads around. So Louis Vuitton, all of these Italian girls had Louis Vuitton purses, and they all went to Italy on spring break. Like, they all had, like, I was not one of them. I was not part of the girls with money because my dad was much older, retired. We were living on Social Security checks, but I was quite the princess. Now I get it. I was quite the princess that my parents, I refused to go to public school. Because I was afraid I was going to get stabbed there in my public school in Chicago. So I insisted on a Catholic school, and they paid for it. They put me through it. But I went to a school with a lot of people of money that all had money, and they all had Louis Vuitton purses at age 16, which I couldn't wrap my head around. So my whole life, I'm like, I want a Louis Vuitton purse. It wasn't about the look of it. It was about the attainment. It was about the success. And so that emotionality of it. I mean, that would be something for Louis Vuitton to look into, to tap into that emotion. BMW's figured it out. Yeah.
And, that goes with, I think, brand awareness, but it's a feeling of, it's just a feeling of maybe importance in this world. Like, you feel like that makes you suddenly, like you have a place in this world. Like, you didn't feel a part of things back then. And then now, even though those people are long gone, you feel a part of things in a way, So
the bottom line is I wanted to be like everybody else.
Yeah.
It wasn't about the cost of the purse, but I wanted to be like everybody else.
Right. You wanted to be loved.
I wanted to be loved. Isn't that what it comes down to?
It does. And, I was thinking about luxury items, and I'm thinking about this beautiful ring on my finger from my fiance. And, This ring is absolutely beautiful and it's amazing. And anybody who's listened to other episodes of this podcast knows I've been married before.
No.
More than once.
Get out.
But the ring is so significant to me because the first time I was married, it was kind of like a conversation of like, I guess we gotta get married because we lived in 2 different countries, and where are we gonna get a ring? And my mom gave me the ring. It was her mother's ring. It was my grandmother's ring. So he didn't invest anything in this ring for me. And that marriage didn't work out. And then
there was no skin in the game.
No. And then my second marriage, he did get me a ring. It was a very humble ring, which was fine because I knew that he got it for me. It was great. And then later, he gave me his mother's first wedding ring. And again, it was like, you know, the ring on a woman's finger is like the significance of, you know, it's a little
how
bit of
someone feels about you.
Yeah. And it was still like the diamond on my finger was somebody else gave it to him, and he also didn't have skin in the game.
Yeah.
And so when that didn't work out, I've made the joke that if I ever got married again, then he would need to come along and have a honking big ring. And so that's what happened.
He delivered.
But I mean, I was joking because I would have never really expected something so beautiful, and I love it, but it's not, size is not that important to me.
With rings.
In terms of rings, that is. And so the size of this ring is not what's important, but what's important is that this ring, he really thought about it. He spent time on it. And he made the investment in me. He made the commitment and he made the investment. And it means a lot to me when I look at it. Like, I don't know if he even realizes how significant it is to me that he went to so much trouble, you know.
Well, that's what it comes down to. It's how do you make someone else feel? What actions are you taking to create an experience, make someone feel special? And what are you doing as a company, as a product, as a service to stand out amongst everybody else? Mm-hmm. We've talked about purses before. Well, we're talking about purses today with Louis Vuitton. Like, what are you doing that creates a feeling that people are like, I want to be part of that. I want to have that.
Yeah, it's all about the feeling, because I know a lot of times, and I've been reading lately about buying patterns, and most of the time it's about the emotion. Like, most of the time you see something and you're like, oh my God, I have to have that. And I'll do that. I see something and I'm like, I have to have that. And it doesn't really even matter what the cost is or if whatever. Well, it's something if I need it. Yeah, I can't stop thinking about it.
Let's talk about that for a second. Those moments that you have I have to have that moment, like, why? Like, where's that coming from? Like, what kinds of things have made you like say, I have to have that?
Okay. I will use the example of a hair styling product that I got. Now, it's a pretty pricey one. I paid $200 for this, and and I looked at it for months before I committed. Like, I looked at it for months.
You really do your research on
I
stuff.
really do.
Yeah.
I'm not an impulse buyer on I'm not really an impulse buyer on things. I study stuff and think about it. And the reason I wanted to get this thing is because the demonstration videos that they had, it made it look so easy to make these beautiful beach waves.
Oh, I've seen the commercial.
And I suck at doing it. Like, apparently you can do it with a flat iron and do these beach waves that these girls are like, oh, look, I did my beach waves. And like, I can't do it. Or there's the other wand thing where you like wrap your hand around and then burn yourself on the, 1,000 degrees.
Yeah, I've done that and I gave it back.
Yeah, no. So this thing, they just make it like, oh, you just clamp it and then you pull it forward and it's awesome. And then these beautiful curls come out.
Does it work?
Well, it does. It's actually fantastic and I love it. And I'm so glad that I got it. However, I did have to have a coaching session with their staff because when I first got it.
Oh, I remember this story.
Yeah, I couldn't figure out. And it's very subtle, like the twist of the wrist kind of thing. But,
which I would not be able to do at this time in my life based on my broken wrist.
No, you would not. But I did.
Back to fairy hair.
The thing about it was I wanted to, it was sort of like your Louis Vuitton. I wanted to fit in. I wanted to have those pretty beach waves that all the girls have in their hair, and I couldn't figure out how to do it. And so I needed the right tool.
Okay, who are all the girls?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I think they're probably teenagers.
We live in the same area. I'm trying to think of who you're talking about.
Well, and really, realistically, how many all the girls had the Louis Vuitton? Did a lot of them, or did only a few?
Oh, good point.
Did only like a couple of them?
A lot, like more than two. I mean, but probably based on that question, realistically, maybe 30% of the population.
The it girls.
The it girls.
Yeah. The it girls. And so, the it girls have the beautiful beach waves because...
Right. And we want to be the it girls because we want to be noticed, because we want to be loved. And at the end of the day, this is something I preach all the time, especially in improv. Like at the end of the day, the universal truth is we all want to be loved. That's why people don't sit in the front row. That's why people are afraid to speak, do public speaking, because they don't want to be embarrassed, because they want people to like them. So my belief on everything, the foundation is we want to be loved. And so... whatever it is you do or you sell or you offer, how can that product or service make someone at the end of the day, deep down inside, feel loved? Because buying is emotional. That's my rhetorical question for everybody, but not really rhetorical, for real. That's something you have to ask yourself. Like, what are you doing that makes people feel a certain way?
Right. And if you have a specific product or service, it'd be a good thing to ask your clientele what did make them feel good, or survey, your prospects of what makes you feel loved and good and happy, just so you can get an idea. Is it an umbrella? Like, is it, a free strand of fairy hair when you leave,
I mean, I felt so special with fairy hair. And the fairy hair continued for a week because I got so much love from it for a week.
From even perfect strangers.
Yeah, I was like, I should have fairy hair all the time. Now I'm about to hit the road on a big speaking tour, so I don't think some of those guys I'll be speaking to are going to understand my fairy hair. So
why not? You said maybe. Doctors came by and everything. Yeah. Was it female doctors or male doctors?
It was mostly females.
Ah,
yeah, it was mostly females, and then some baristas at Starbucks. Yeah, that's about it. Male baristas and female doctors and nurses. Anyway, the point is, how can you continue to stand out, understand what your customers want that's going to get their attention, but also is going to continue on and make them feel good? We a couple weeks ago at our theater, Carolina Improv, there was a pregnant woman at the theater with her husband seeing the show. We found out she was like 34 weeks pregnant. Isn't that like almost about to give birth, right?
Yeah.
So I was like trying to do the math. I'm like, isn't she about to give birth? So she was pregnant. And at one point she was really uncomfortable. So we let her sit where the performers sit because she was so uncomfortable. But the point is that everybody was paying such attention to her. And then at another point, she's like, I want to stand, and we felt bad. And so someone went over to her and someone on my team, said, hey, created like this, we have chairs that are stacked up in back. And he's like, if you want to sit on these are actually pretty comfortable and you could see above everybody else. And then someone else brought out another chair, like, you want to try this chair? And at one point she turned to me and she said, you all are so lovely. And it really hit me that one of our core values is to take care of each other. It's a company core value that we live by, but it's not just about take care of each other as a team, but take care of our customers too. Do what you can to go out of your way to pay attention to how people are feeling to create the right experience for them. And that was it was kind of cool to see that. And then she came back the next night. I heard. I wasn't there. I was like, I was so concerned she was going to have a baby.
She probably spent all day trying to find chairs as comfortable as the ones you guys had.
Maybe that's
Well, it's all about the feels. I mean, really.
In the feels.
At the end of the day, like, stuff doesn't matter. Even the stuff you're selling, but the feeling that you're left with. Because you may not sell somebody your stuff today, but if they leave you with an experience with the feeling like that was such a great experience, they'll be thinking about your brand. And even if they don't buy today, they might buy in the future because they had such a good experience.
Well, and one of the things you said previously was the I got to have it, right? That moment when you're like, I have to have that, right? That desire that you have to have it. People will always find money for the things that they have to have. I mean, why do people stand in line forever for those iPhone things?
Yeah, that's crazy when they stand in line out front of the door.
You know, the early adopters, right? They have to have it. For whatever reason, they have to have it. They have to have it. But that goes back to the beginning of Apple and his core value. I mean, the way his kind of attitude, Steve Jobs' attitude, was to go against the status quo. That's like a big part of their mission. And so they created that kind of personality as a company that attracted that type of customer, which is an early adopter type of customer that's going to like, I have to have it. I got to be the first person to have it because I need to buy it when it's the most expensive because that's going to say something about me.
It's true. And I mean, I am an admitted Apple fanatic, and I've never stood outside.
You and Jeffrey Gitomer.
I've never
Keith
stood
Walters.
outside. Well, I think it's definitely. I wonder exactly the avatar of their particular client, because I'm super all about Apple products, and I remember when I was first introduced to Apple products to a Macintosh desktop years ago. And I was a PC person at that time. And I was like, oh, God, this is ridiculous, this thing. I don't even get this at all. But an hour later, I was like, oh, man. And then I was in. I was in.
Well, it's ironic. My first computer ever was an Apple. And I taught myself how to use it because I was interviewing for a job where they said, can you use an Apple? And I was like, yeah. I mean, this is early on when computers were like,
and do you have one?
Yeah, this
so
is
I
like
can figure it out.
This was like when it was early on. I'm dating myself. I want to say 90s. I was after college, right out of college, and so I lied and said I knew how, and then figured out I would teach myself how, which is ultimately what I did.
I think you and I do that all the time.
We can figure it out.
Entrepreneur quality, like. Yes, I know how to do that, and I better get started.
I'll figure it out. But there is definitely, when it comes to an avatar for a client or customer avatar, what is the customer avatar? Why do you think you were an early adopter to it, or like why do you think you were sold on Apple?
I have a very artistic side to myself, and I love the way that their products are really intuitive, how they interact with one another. It's a lot of it's just really ease of use, and also the artistic, sleek design of everything. Mm-hmm. There's something about that, and I think it's the same kind of feeling that we were talking about with the BMW. There's something about the sleek design and the logo that just gets me, and I love my phone. I love my iPhone. But I really love the features of like, okay, so I can airdrop back and forth from my phone to my computer.
Keith was teaching people how to airdrop the other night.
Oh God. And I love my iWatch. Like my AirPods are like the greatest thing I ever have gotten. It's great.
So this entire episode has just been about name dropping of companies. The
ones we love.
Every one of them should be.
Well, and some people, what's interesting is to find people like I have said before, I'm super brand loyal. And when I get attached to a brand, I stand by it until somebody else woos me away. And it takes a lot of work. Like I'm huge into Apple. I love my Vuitton shoes. Like I am all about my Dagny Dover purse. We're
not materialistic women at all.
No, I really don't like stuff. But when I find
quality stuff
that function, and the reason that I like all these things is, they're functional. They help me in my life. Now, the Louboutins don't really help me in my life. And
yes, they do. They make you feel sexy.
They do.
Right?
Yes. And also I got attached to those too with watching Claire Underwood on House of Cards. And there was something about it. And again, it was the status. It was like, okay, when you see a woman wearing Vuitton shoes, the red bottoms, you know that they got it going on because they're not cheap. And so you know that they
if
got
they
it going
didn't
on.
buy them, someone gave them to them. Either way, you're special.
That's right. That's right. And I love them. Speaking of which, I found a pair that I was in love with and was looking at them, and now they're gone from the website. The style is gone, and you can't find them anywhere. They're the Mirabellas, Vuitton. Please bring them back in size 9.5.
I bet you could find them on eBay.
I have done the research.
Oh, that's right.
Gina.
What was I thinking?
Maybe they'll bring them back, but I can't find them anywhere. They were there, and I should have pulled the trigger.
So supply and demand by the toaster. The toaster story. Not everybody knows the toaster, but supply and demand. There's a whole story about my dad and a toaster and working in a flea market. Price changes when it seems more valuable or it's not available or inventory is less, which is a whole nother topic. I'm going to write that one down.
Yeah, because guess what? Guess what shoes I'm obsessed about now is finding those.
Yeah.
Because they went away from the actual Vuitton website. And then I found them at Nordstrom, and they're not there anymore either. That style is not online anymore. It's gone. And I screenshotted it. I have it because I was like, if I find a product I like, I'll screenshot it so I can save the name for looking for it later on other sites. And you can't find them anywhere.
We want what's no longer available because we
Totally.
didn't appreciate it when it was there. You're really worked up about this.
Yeah.
They'll come back.
Yeah. Or there'll be something better, which the thing that I'm banking on is that because they removed that particular style, that they'll probably bring another new style out in the spring that could be better.
And sometimes, buyers, consumers have loud voices. If other people felt that way, sometimes they bring things back because the demand was like, everybody's like, why'd you take it away? We loved it. We don't know the backstory though. Maybe you were the only one who loved it and they weren't making money.
But they sold them all.
Maybe they they sold them to Overstock or something, or they.
I didn't look there yet. I'm pretty sure Louboutin is not on overstock.com, but that's worth a try.
Which is another interesting story because Overstock has been, I haven't seen it recently, but maybe it was heavy at the holidays. They were really working hard on repositioning their brand because I think there was the confusion around Overstock being Overstock merchandise only. And so they must have I haven't read up enough on that to talk intelligently about it, but my guess is that they had to tweak their branding and then do a campaign about it to push no, it's not just Overstock. Because when you hear Overstock, I think it's outdated merchandise or it's kind of along the outlet kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So they've been trying to reposition themselves. Oh, I'm just throwing that out there. Maybe you can find them there. Or just post it on Facebook. That's what I do. I'm looking for, and then all of a sudden things appear. It's telling the universe.
That's an idea.
Now we're doing it on the podcast. So help Rachel out. She's looking for Mirabella, Louis Vuitton. I'll take a pair too, size 10. What's your size?
Well, you got to get them a couple sizes bigger.
Oh, yeah, that's
seriously.
True. Size 11.
Yeah.
Size 11 for me. So, moral of the story on something that we talked about, if I can try to remember this, brand loyalty, how you get committed to a brand, emotionality, how buyers buy based on how something's going to make them feel. How are you standing out in your product, in your brand, in your service? What are you doing to stand out? That whole emotion thing in the feels, which was a new phrase I learned this year, creating the in the feels, and packaging, because that's another thing we haven't talked about extensively, but you were talking about the sleekness of something. So there's something to be said about packaging and design and what attracts us. So think about in your own businesses and in your own jobs and your own life, what are you doing to package yourself that attracts people that are like, I have to have that. Those are my takeaways. What do you got? You got anything?
Definitely. It's all about the feels. And, you think about, let's go back to the BMW idea. if you're talking about the specs of a car, like it has this much horsepower and it has leather seats and it has, this shiny paint job and blah, blah, it's not going to sell it as well as the power and the prestige and the umbrella that you get that you can't get anywhere else. That kind of stuff sells it a little bit, not a little, a lot more frequently and strongly and easily, because it's how that person's feeling. Like, oh yeah, I want prestige.
It's the whole package. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like when I opened a business banking account a couple years ago. I was looking for a new bank. I know this sounds weird, but maybe this goes back to my childhood stuff. I'm like, what? There's like no free, like, where's the free product that comes with opening a bank account? Anybody remember that? Do you remember that?
Did you get a free pen?
Like like back in the day. No. When I was still in high school, kind of like you working a million jobs, I had a job as a bank teller after school. And then I would go from the bank telling job. This is when I was in high school and couldn't have a Louis Vuitton purse, and all those girls were like living the life, and I was working a million jobs so I could go to college. I would then go to my restaurant cocktail waitress job, where, sorry, I lied about my age, but whatever. To be a cocktail waitress, hey, I had to do what I had to do. I had to go to college. When you opened bank accounts back then, you got this is full circle. You got a toaster.
What does a toaster have to do with a bank account?
No, like they would give away a free appliance when you open this account, and you get a coffee maker, a toaster, a whatever the thing was. They always had a thing that they gave away with the opening of certain bank accounts. Swear to God.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think I do not ever recall getting an appliance when I opened a bank account. I think I got a pen once or twice.
Well, then they got scrimpy. Is that a word? I don't know. I just made it up. They got scrimpy with what they were giving away. So when I was looking for a new bank for our businesses, and I posted on Facebook looking for a new bank. It's always funny to watch how people scramble. Oh my God, that cracks me up. And then I started joking. I'm like, who gives away a free toaster? I'm like, the bank that gives a free toaster away, right? And someone said, we'll give you a toaster. It wasn't part of their plan, but they did send me a toaster.
Awesome.
They sent me...
And that's probably a $15 investment on their part to get your business.
Right. But they sent me a toaster because I'm like, I want a toaster. Ask for what you want, people. Ask for what you want, whether you're a buyer or a seller. So, and then the irony is that whole toaster story about my dad that you can hear on another episode. I'll keep you intrigued.
Doug, put that in the show notes.
The toaster. Tangent as usual. So what's your toaster? Give away a toaster. I don't know.
Or your umbrella.
What's your toaster, your Yeti, or your umbrella?
Also known as your unique selling proposition and bonus.
And added value.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not just pretty. We actually are smart. We just like to be irreverent. So...
It's a lot more fun than just being intelligent.
Oh, let's talk about how to close the deal. Let's not. So this has been the episode about luxury brand items. No, this has been the episode about how do you stand out? What's your unique selling proposition? What kind of value are you adding? And how are you standing out to your customers to attract them and create an emotional experience that keeps them loyal to you? It's time for us to wrap it up. I'm Gina Tremarco. If you want to learn more about me, you can go to ginatremarco.com. And for Rachel,
find me all over social as Rachel on Real Estate, or visit me at theclosingcurve.com. Plus, find all our social media links and free downloads on our website at womenyourmotherwarnedyouabout.com.
And hey, do us girls a favor. Please. And we're okay saying girls. We're women, but we're also girls. Do us a favor. Go download our show. Then share it with people and tell them to download it. Download. And give us a review and rate it 5 stars. that would really help us. You could do that at iTunes. Sometimes people struggle with how to do it on iTunes. I don't know why. It is not easy, but go do it on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast rating and review. And remember, for the best relationships, you need to keep it real, raw, and relevant.
And a little irreverence doesn't hurt either.
Bye, Warners.
This really will get serious soon.
Yeah, it doesn't have to. I don't think anybody wants it to be serious.
This has been a presentation of the Sell or Die Network. For more podcasts that you can take out into the street and turn into money, visit sellerdienetwork.com.